As we've seen, bridging security and development is really important to merging security with DevOps. Many of our customers have their favorite scanning vendors that they like to use, and we've recently made it easier for them to integrate those scans into the GitLab workflow. James Brotsos is here from Checkmarx to show you the integration work that Checkmarx has done so that their users can get the Checkmarx scanning results to the developer within the GitLab CI pipeline.
All right, hello. In the spirit of shifting left, I'd like to present Checkmarx's security platform and how we integrated with GitLab to provide security results sooner in the secure software development lifecycle. Quick introduction, my name is James Brotsos. I'm a senior solutions engineer with Checkmarx. I have 15 years experience as a developer doing network protocol and kernel development work. Last 5 years I've been spent as a solutions engineer. And overall, I have about 10 years experience with application security testing tools, 5 years as a developer and 5 years as on the solution side. A shameless plug, I actually run the Checkmarx user group on Meetup. So if you're interested in any kind of cool work that I'm working on, please join. And my true passion and my hobby is I'm an active maker. I love building and breaking things actually too. So this is the agenda for my presentation. It's meant for DevOps engineers interested in security. It's meant for application security engineers, and also just developers in general as well. If you don't know what Checkmarx is, I'll dive into, give a brief overview of what Checkmarx is. I will do a deep dive into the GitLab integration that I performed. And I will show you a end-to-end workflow from GitLab to Checkmarx and back to GitLab on the whole end-to-end workflow. And lastly, I'll show you an actual live demo as well. So start off, what is Checkmarx? So Checkmarx is an application security testing platform. So we are known for static analysis, but we actually perform security types of reporting on different levels. We do a software composition analysis, which tells you all the open source packages that you have, that you're bringing into your application, all the version numbers of those open source packages, and all the known vulnerabilities for those open source packages. We have an interactive application security testing platform, which is an agent that runs on a test server that's running your code. It monitors traffic driven from functional tests, and it can run security types of queries on top of that. And we have an application security awareness program. So we provide you with all of these types of vulnerabilities, and we train you on how to fix them. It's an 8 to 10 minute gamified, interactive way of learning what security type of vulnerabilities are. So a key to a successful security program is really having the automation and integration into the software development lifecycle. We give you the ability to determine when you want to scan. You might want to scan on commits. You might want to scan on merge requests. You might want to scan on a nightly or weekly basis. Different people have different ways of wanting to consume these results. They might want to log into the Checkmarx platform. They might want to get Jira tickets automatically created. They might want to get an email or a Slack message, or they might want to stay within the GitLab ecosystem and consume the results inside GitLab. And that's where we see most of our GitLab customers wanting their Checkmarx results inside the GitLab platform, inside the ecosystem. CxFlow. So CxFlow is a Spring Boot application that our R&D maintains. Is a scan and result orchestration. So it can initiate scans and also parse through those results. And that is the main driver behind the GitLab integration, and that I will talk to you about into detail. So CxFlow can be configured in 2 different ways, either using CxFlow from a command line or having CxFlow work as a server and listen for webhook events. The scan is initiated by integrating with GitLab CI/CD tool. merge requests or even pushes of the source will trigger an already existing pipeline. And the existing pipeline just needs to have one edit to include the stage to execute the checkmark scan. And this will either create a new project if it doesn't exist, or it will update a current one. Team management. CxFlow can create teams based off of the source control management structure. And it's very highly customizable. Results management. So as far as results go, the scan results are file-based, CSV or JSON or XML, making it really easy to import into defect tracking systems or dashboards. CxFlow also drives a result feedback loop, eliminating the have to do manual intervention, meaning basically that defects are automatically opened and closed if they have been fixed. You can always filter the types of defects created based on any kind of filtering criteria, and the results are easy to consume in a way that developers want to consume the results, and most importantly, actionable. Defect tracking. So we consolidate issues of the same vulnerability type in the same file instead of having multiple issues. It's just one issue. Once all the references to the vulnerability type of that issue is fixed, then that ticket will automatically close. And you can base this on different types of policies, severity, CWE, the vulnerability type, or even the state. And defect tracking is also supported for the software composition analysis results as well. And feedback channels. So not only does CxFlow support GitLab security dashboard and GitLab issues, but also supports Jira or email, ServiceNow, and Rally. All right, so it's a pretty effortless option for the development teams to scan projects quickly. There is no overhead when configuring and managing these builds. You can quickly automate the scan of multiple repositories. And again, there's no overhead when configuring and managing all of these different repos that you might have. So in this case, for automation with the developer's common toolset, we're talking about GitLab. You want to get the details of those issues to those who want to address them, the developers, obviously. You want to drive security testing based on the GitLab activity. Publish those issues into the existing backlog, and keep developers within GitLab. And this really does free up time to focus on things that actually matter to developers, which is, writing code. With this methodology, we are shifting as far left, again, into the software development lifecycle. We still are providing governance and gating capabilities, constantly scanning the latest code, and it really replaces the need to scan it in the IDE. I want to talk to you about the integration steps that I took to get to the final integration that we had. I think it might be interesting just to kind of learn my learning process of, kind of the trials and errors I went through. So the first step I really did is I really wanted to get scans done inside GitLab. So I had a very simple initiation of scans. I learned about GitLab's CI/CD pipeline, and specifically the GitLab CI.yaml file. By adding a stage, I was able to just make a REST API call. Checkmarx has a full REST API suite with all these endpoints that can initiate the scan. The biggest problem with this was that there was no interaction with the results. So the scan would be automatically initiated and scanned, and developers or DevOps engineers wouldn't even know that the scan actually had finished. So that led me to my second stage, which was more of a full and robust integration. I had a lot of custom scripts that would not only initiate that scan, but then parse the results and push it into the security dashboard. And that was a step where I actually learned about the GitLab security dashboard, which is a feature that I'll walk you through a little bit more, but it gives you a high overview of vulnerabilities from SaaS tools or DAS tools. Over time, allows you to triage and create new issues inside GitLab issues as well. The biggest problem with this was the maintenance of all the scripts. You had to put these scripts in each individual repo. Every time I made an edit to these scripts, I had to edit each repo, and and I had to use a lot of variables inside of scripts that I had to manually edit, which led me to my final solution, which is probably the solution I should start off with, and that was to containerize everything. So with GitLab, it allows you to use an image, and Checkmarx maintains an image that has the CxFlow CLI built into it. So not only does this initiate all the scans, but then we edited the CxFlow application to actually import the results into the GitLab issues and also the dashboard. I also learned about using global variables here instead. So when you kick off the CI/CD pipeline, you can edit the global variables that allows you to manipulate the scripts in the way you want to. So I want to show you an end-to-end workflow of how GitLab and Checkmarx integration works. So again, I have global variables that are set up. They're mostly used for authentication into the Checkmarx server. So the Checkmarx server is usually on the same network as the GitLab server. So it's always on-premise. So no data is ever leaving your on-premise environment or network, or nothing is going back to Checkmarx itself. So once the authentication variables are set, then a CI/CD pipeline can get kicked off in many different ways. So think of it as a push event or a merge request, and it reads this YAML file. So the GitLab CI YAML file lays in the root directory of your GitLab repo. And what I did was I separated the Checkmarx stages from the GitLab CI file, so I don't actually pollute the already existing GitLab CI, that YAML file that your DevOps might have already set up. So all you have to do is include another YAML file with this stage or with this extension, and it allows you to have the Checkmarx specific information, which kicks off the CxFlow CLI. So once the CxFlow starts to run inside that container, it will initiate a scan inside Checkmarx. Again, Checkmarx is always on the same network as GitHub, and it will send the results back to CxFlow, and that's where we parse the scan results. And depending on how you want to consume those results, we can update the security dashboard, we can update the issues, we can update the merge request, or we can update all three of them at the same time. So the different ways we integrate is through the merge request, through issues, and through security dashboard. So inside the merge request, if there was ever a merge request performed, we will put a high-level summary of the SAST and the SCA, the software composition analysis results, inside the merge request overview. If you want to have it create issues automatically, it will create issues inside of GitLab's issues, and you can then triage it to the right epic or assign it to a user, and treat all security vulnerabilities as you would any other defect or any other kind of issue. And we import into that the security dashboard. So security dashboard is a feature for gold and ultimate GitLab members, or if your project is actually public. So if you have those features, if you have that tier level at GitLab, you should take a look at the security dashboard. It's either per project or per group. All right, so before I jump into the demo, I just want to give you some references. If you want to see the step-by-step integrations done for GitLab and Checkmarx, go to checkmarx.com/GitLab. I also have my demo code that I'm going to show to you if you want to take a peek at what the YAML files look like. If you have any questions for me, I will be in the chat as well. And my contact email is james.brotsos@checkmarx.com. The architect of CxFlow is ken.mcdonald@checkmarx.com. He can answer any questions that you might have on the architecture of CxFlow. And we have a full set of documentation to read about CxFlow and all the options it has if you want to check out the wiki page listed here. All right, thank you, and I will show you the demo now. So for this demo, I'm going to show 3 different integration points. I'm going to show the merge request, I'm going to show the security dashboard, and I'm also going to show the issues as well. So to kick off a merge request, I am just going to edit a source file. This is a source file that has known cross-site scripting inside of it. And I'm going to target this branch to a security branch, which will then start a new merge request with these changes. And submit this merge request. So right now you can see that it basically has detached a pipeline here, and you can merge it when the pipeline actually succeeds. Just to take a look at what the pipeline looks like, you can see that in the CI/CD section here, that this pipeline is currently running. And the way it runs and the stages that are determined is through that GitLab CI.yaml file. So let's take a peek at what that looks like. So this is the GitLab CI YAML file. You can see on line 1, I'm including the .checkmarx.yaml file. This is not, so as I mentioned before, this is so I don't pollute this already existing file that maybe your DevOps have already set up and has stages already built in. You can see that the checkmarx SAST is actually on line number 7 is for a stage test. This is recommendations from GitLab to have any kind of security type of checks or scans be done at that stage for test, at test stage. But it's also the default stage. So if you do not have line 7, this will kick off during the test stage anyway. You can see that I have limited to the master branch and the merge request. And let's take a look exactly what this checkmarx.yaml file. But it does extend the checkmarx SAST. So I'll take a look at what that looks like. So you can see here, this extends that stage that we had before, the .checkmarx SAST. I'm using a container that is supported by Checkmarx. You can see I have 2 different scripts. One is for a merge request type of event, and one is for just a normal push event. A main reason is because I do leverage the GitLab's APIs that has the merge request update endpoint. So I do need to have that merge request ID. I think it's a good time to give a lot of kudos to the GitLab's documentation team. Everything I've done by myself by reading the documentation. It's by far, without a doubt, the best documentation I've ever experienced. So kudos to that team. And you can see that I just have a kind of normal thing, but I am invoking the CxFlow jar file, which is located inside of that Checkmarx container. You can see that this is the Checkmarx queue. This has a CX demo app-security. So I was running this on the .security branch. You can see that it has finished now, but this was a queue for the Checkmarx. So now it should be done. Let me take a look at the merge request. All right, so you can see that this was updated to say that a scan was submitted to Checkmarx, and then you can see the full SAST scan summary coming from Checkmarx. It's very high level. It will tell you the violation summary, how many high, medium, and lows and info were found. You can see that I have different lines of different endpoints. So there's 11 different cross-site scripting found, and there's 11 different sources. And if I click on any of these ones, it will take me into the GitLab's interface of the actual source code. I can also go into Checkmarx's and see the full flow. A lot of our customers really enjoy the experience of going to Checkmarx UI and be able to see that source to sync and follow the whole data flow from a security type of vulnerability. And also get the software composition analysis results as well. So usually when you do a merge request, a best practice would be that during this type of scan, you're doing an incremental scan or a delta scan. So you're only scanning the code that's actually been changed since the last full scan. So this was actually done in an incremental scan way. Now, if you were to do a merge into the master branch, and I'll click on this merge, this will now initiate a new scan, which is actually going to scan the master branch with the merges that are coming from the security branch. So now that this has been merged, I can actually take a look. Another pipeline gets kicked off. It's kicked off here. And then in the Checkmarx queue, instead of being cxdemoapp-security, it'll be cxdemoapps-master. So as this is running, I do want to show you what the security dashboard looks like. So the security dashboard, it gives you a high-level summary per project on the critical, high, and medium type of vulnerabilities that were found in the scan. Now, this security dashboard has a lot of different types of scanners that can be enabled. You can have the container scanning, you could have DAST, dependency, SAS, secret detection, and coverage fuzzing. So you can actually have something like SAS. You can probably have Brakeman enabled as well to get some Ruby results. You can see here the type of scanner. Right now it's listed as GitLab, but they're working on changing this to Checkmarx for the specific type of scanner that's being used. You have the ability to actually do some triaging. So if I wanted to dismiss this, I can dismiss this for if I think this is a false positive, or I don't want to accept this risks, or I don't even need to give a reason either. If I want to take a look at more information about exactly what this vulnerability is, I can just click on this link here, and it will give me a summary of the severity, where the scanner came from, the file location. So if I want to take a look exactly what file it came from, I can click on that link, and it will point me to the source of this. It gives me some identifiers, so some links back into public, remediation type of pages, and it gives me a solution. Right now, we have a link back in the Checkmarx platform, but we plan on having a small resolution here that could give you a little bit more insight of how to fix it without having to go into Checkmarx. So this is per project, but you can also do it per group. So if you click on the more up here and go to security, you can add in more projects into the security dashboard that you want, and it will give you vulnerabilities over time. You can see this 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, but this is a collection of all the projects. Something pretty cool is that you can have a little grade on it as well. So you can see now that this CX app demo app-master has finished. So now the security issues should be updated. So they're coming in now. You can see that two have already been created. So 7 have been created. And now the final 9 have been created. So you can see that we had 11 findings, and actually we only created 1 issue. So this is a really good feature of CxFlow. Instead of creating 11 different issues, it's creating 1 issue that has the same type of vulnerability coming from the same file. And again, you can now assign it to an assignee. You can do it for an epic story. You can triage it fully in here. I can assign it to myself. And you can see that we also have the software composition analysis results as well. So I thank you for your time. Again, I am in the chat room. If you have any questions, I can address them there. Thank you.